All right, Michael, here's my first question. Who is Bernie Sanders trying to sell this plan to? Because Democrat, Republican, nobody's going to like paying for health care for all illegal immigrants, open borders, and not deporting violent, criminal, illegal aliens.
Perhaps nobody will like it, but I think what Bernie Sanders is betting on, which is something that Democrats have bet on for decades now, is that mass immigration, particularly illegal immigration, is going to give them an electoral advantage. This has been true for decades, and so they go for it. The other aspect of this is on the language about climate, where Bernie Sanders is now calling to take in 50,000 climate migrants. And of course, nobody has to migrate away from the climate. The weather is doing just fine. What they're really using is this totalizing plan of climate change as a way to give us socialism through the back door. What this is doing, while perhaps in the short run being unpopular by funding all sorts of free goodies for non-citizens, what it does in the long run is it gives the left what they've wanted for 100 years, a much larger federal government, a huge federal entitlement for health care and various other services. And what Sanders is betting on is that the Democratic Party is going to veer to the left and embrace that sort of plan. And thus far in this primary campaign, it would appear that he's right.
Well, maybe for those on the far left of the party, but I remain to be convinced that any of the voters in the middle, meaning the swing voters we always talk about, those who voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and then voted for Donald Trump in 2016, the people that aren't ideologues, they switch based on what the politicians have to offer them. I remain to be convinced that they will buy into a plan like this, especially given this ridiculous climate migrant or climate refugee claim. I mean, what is the limiting principle on this? Because it comes without a definition. Why couldn't any, and therefore every person in the world, and we know there are millions and millions of people in our world who want to come to America, why couldn't they arbitrarily claim that they are displaced or disadvantaged by the climate and therefore Bernie Sanders will let them in?
Well, of course, the premise that they're using is not Honduran warming or Nicaraguan warming or Mexican warming. It's global warming, and therefore anybody in the globe who feels negatively affected by the weather can try to come to the United States, which is where virtually everybody in the world wants to come because it's the most prosperous, most free, most stable, and most just country in the history of the world, and certainly right now. So it's giving them that wide open door, which the left has been talking about now for at least the past few years, abolishing ICE, decriminalizing border crossings, no human being is illegal, amnesty for everybody. Barack Obama said that executive amnesty would be unconstitutional, and then he himself did it because it's a winning issue for the left. But your point is certainly well taken, which is that when you look at the sort of national surveys or surveys of Democratic primary voters, then the left-wing candidates are doing very, very well, and the momentum is on their side, which is why you're seeing Elizabeth Warren now emulating Bernie Sanders. Liz Warren comes out and says, I have a $52 trillion health care plan. I'm basically giving you Soviet Russia in the United States. And Bernie Sanders says, hold my vodka. I can do you one better.